Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Witcher Baptist Church. We hope that you guys are doing well wherever you may be, whether you're watching that right now with us or whether you may decide to wait and watch that later. Today is going to be a special day for us. I don't actually wear this every single Sunday. I promise you that. We're going to have a special service today in honor of our graduate, Carter White, so we're very excited about that. Before we get into it, I just want to remind you of really one announcement. Our plan still at the moment is that we're going to return to the building on June the 7th. Now, today is the last day for you to give some input into that. What our plan is to return for a morning service. That's the only service that we're planning to return to, but there's two options with that. The first is that we could have just one service at 11, or the second option is that we could have two services, one at 9 a.m. and one at 11 to be able to increase our chances of social distancing. So today is the last day, the deadline for you to give me your feedback for that. I've had feedback from several folks, so please feel free to give me a call or a text or a message today and let me know where you land on that. And based on the reactions that we've had up to this point, and including what we get today, we're going to let you know moving forward this week what our plan is for services for June the 7th. But we are excited to be back here at the building, and I hope that you're excited for that as well. That's the only announcement I really have for you. So this time we're going to get started officially with our graduation ceremony. The graduate may be seated. At this time, what we would like to do is to show a brief slideshow presentation. Now, Carter has not gotten to see this. He does not know what pictures or what evidence has been gathered against him for this. So we hope that it's going to be as much of a blessing to him as it is to you. But this time, we're going to see just a brief recap of the moments leading up to today. some ways it seems wrong that a life of 18 years is summarized in 4 minutes, although I think for your parents they might say that's about how fast it went. So I hope that was a blessing to you. I know it was at least a blessing to your parents to get to watch that. What I want to do now is I want to allow someone else to share a few words about you. Now, we never know what's going to come out of this person's mouth, especially being your youth leader, who knows what he might be able to say. So we're going to have Kevin come up and share whatever he's prepared for you. So brace yourself. Come on, Kevin.
First of all, unlike the pastor, I do wear this every Sunday. A, because I look good in purple. 2, because it's 19 years old and it still fits. Not too many people can say that. But this one here, this graduation Sunday, this one's special. The reason it's so special, you and I did this youth thing together at the same time. Your first year in youth was the first year I took it over. You are my first one to go all 6 years with me, so I have prepared a top 10 list for your future. Just things to remember. Number 10, Carter 20 is greater than COVID-19. Remember that. Number 9, you have 4 years of eligibility to break the NCAA record for most yellow cards in a career. So pace yourself accordingly. You know, when you get off to college, there's going to be decisions to be made every day. Something's going to happen. If you ever get lost, just remember, what would Freddie do? Number 7, better yet, do the opposite of number 8. That'd probably be the safer bet. Number 6, and this is facts. I did research. The middle children always do better in college. Facts. Number 5, remember, make disciples who make disciples who make disciples. Number 4, while you're getting your higher education, if you ever find out exactly who let the dogs out, would you please let me know? Because I am still trying to figure that out. Number 3, most important. I don't know why it's number 3, because it's most important, but still it's number 3. We love you. We love you here at this church. My family loves you. We love you. Always remember that. Take that with you everywhere. Number 2, although the senior class of 2020 was senior skip day champions, you still need to go to class.
Amen.
And number 1, it's okay. All right? It's okay. Because remember, a lot of people go to college for 7 years. It's okay.
Kevin's gonna have to like print that, put that in like some kind of frame for you to hang up wherever you're going to go, so you can remember that stuff by.
I'll put it in my dorm.
You'll put it in your dorm,
Yeah.
promise?
Yeah, I
Pinky
will.
swear?
That was.
Okay. There's one more person that wanted to weigh in and just share a brief message with you that was not able to be here today. And so I recorded just a brief message so that you could hear that. Okay?
All right.
Hey Carter, just want to say congratulations on graduating high school. College is not easy at all. Just stay focused and keep in touch with friends and family, and you'll have fun. Just stay focused and make good grades.
Short, sweet, good advice. Okay? Short, sweet, good advice. He was sorry he couldn't be here today, but I want to give him an opportunity to weigh in. He's like, anything for family is literally what he texted to me. So remember that. I have something different today that was unexpected. And so I'm going to ask Paula to hand off her official recording duties for just a moment to her husband. and for Paula to join me up here. Sometimes whenever you do ceremonies like this, and you'll learn more as you move forward, is that people sometimes get degrees that take up time in your ceremony that makes no sense whatsoever, okay? You're the one that did the classes, you're the one that did the stuff, but sometimes when you go to college, people are gonna get honorary degrees for not taking classes. This is gonna be one of those moments in your service, okay? Although I believe this is a very earned degree, okay? I wanted to present Miss Paula White with the honorary master's. Now, you told me earlier you did not have a master's. You now have an honorary master's in child rearing, okay? The certificate is awarded to Paula White in recognition of her dedication for raising 4 children, okay? 2 that have graduated from high school, 2 that have graduated from college, Tim, and Bailey's, well, we'll say Bailey's there. Getting there, and then of course we have another one that will be coming up. So far though, we feel that your dedication towards child rearing is very well recognized and should be appreciated. So we have that little thing for you. And then also, you know, Mother's Day was like so lackluster this year, so we wanted to give you something to celebrate that as well.
And I would hug with social distancing.
I understand. I will air hug. But Paula, congratulations on your honorary master's degree.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You may resume recording duties, which is one of the reasons why you earned your degree in the first place. That brings me to whatever I would like to share today. Now, I plan to be fairly brief. I promise that, and so I plan to hold on to that. I did make notes though, because I'm one of those people, if I don't read notes, I'll probably make a mistake, okay? So I do want to share just a few things with you. It probably goes without saying, but these are unprecedented times. You are sitting at a graduation that is different, I'm sure, than what you expected. When I graduated from high school in 2004, don't make fun of that, okay? Don't laugh too much at that. My biggest concern was that I'm not following stage. That was my biggest concern. Fortunately, I was able to avoid that disaster, so that was good. I got to celebrate with many family, friends, thousands of people from the community. I remember those moments. There were lots of hugs, tears, tissues. Those were in high qualities. Or high quantities, but I don't remember a single container of hand sanitizer. That doesn't come up in my memory. There weren't limitations to that excitement, except perhaps the lack of parking, or of course the maximum seating capacity. Some folks had to be in the nosebleed section. There were no face masks at that ceremony. Actually, there's none here today, don't tell anybody. There was no pandemic whenever I graduated. In fact, not a soul among us that day. Whether it was the class, whether it was the parents, the grandparents, the community members, none of us thought 16 years later that we would be where we're at, that we would be threatened by a global virus. One that has robbed us of normal, whatever normal is. It's robbed some people of their lives, and it has taken celebrations of various types away from many of us. This is not the graduation the class of 2020 expected. I'm sure this is not what you signed up for. It's not what you had envisioned, but it is the graduation that you have. I remember well the excitement and the anticipation of the big day, or that big moment of hearing your name called across that stage, of accomplishing what at that time seemed to be the most important milestone in life. There's a lot of hype that comes with a high school graduation. Once that I've experienced it, it's really not quite as important as it is dressed up to be. I don't want to eradicate its significance. It is significant, and I'm very proud of what you have done. I simply want to put in perspective what I think the class of 2020 has is actually a rare gift. Is to learn that life is much more than the sum of a few high points. As Sarah Barrett states in her article, Encouragement for the Disappointed 2020 Graduate, she says this. She says, how you live is more important than how you graduate. I couldn't think of a better way to phrase what graduates are facing this year. It's different. There might not be an official graduation ceremony. I know there's a planned date for it, but we'll wait and we'll see. There may be no official turning of the tassel or throwing of the cap amongst friends, but life will absolutely continue, and a lot of life will continue. The life expectancy of an American, in case you don't know, is well into the 70s. So the majority of your life to be lived is not through this point after high school. You thought all of life led to this moment, but what you don't realize is there's so much life ahead. Many immediately, of course, point to college, thinking of what is next. I submit to you, even those years are a small portion of the life that you have ahead of you. That will also pass. You have to think beyond that. What you do in the next 4 years is not as important as what you do for the next 40 years. And that only gets you to 57, okay? We're expecting many more years than that. So how do you prepare for that? How do you make the most of the life ahead of you, especially in times like these? So I just want to give you 3 words and 3 scriptures, okay? The first word that I have for you, and they'll all have with a little bit of a gift as well. That's always nice. That helps things. But the 3 words that I have for you, the first is purpose. The first is purpose. It comes from Proverbs chapter 19, verse 21. It says, "Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand." Now is a great time to make plans. Okay, it's a great time. I want you to answer questions like, what do you want to do? I want you to answer questions like, what kind of college should I go to? What goals do I want to accomplish? Where do I want to see myself in 10 years? I want you to think about those things. I want you to make those types of goals. This verse tells us that many are the plans in the mind of a man. But I want you to understand that your plans need to accommodate for God's purpose for you. This verse tells us that a man has many plans, but only God's plans, only God's purpose will be done. It's the only one that is promised to be fulfilled. So please adjust your plans accordingly. And this is already an example of you having to do that. There's also great peace in knowing that your plans and your failures, and there will be some of those, your successes and your mistakes will not alter God's good plans for this world. You're simply not that powerful, and my friend, that's actually a very good thing. I want to gift you with a book that I'm going to give to you after our ceremony today. It shares with 7 men who found their purpose in the Lord. Some of these include George Washington, the first president of the United States. It's just a tremendous book of their testimonies, of the lives that they lived of significance because they followed his plans instead of theirs. Now, they had their own plans, but in many ways they were redirected, if you will. While I was thinking about this word, this purpose, there are a lot of different paths that you could take. But the path that we must make sure that we are on is the path that the Lord has for us. Now, there are different ways to getting to that goal, but that must be the goal. My family and I were trying to do something in this social distance world recently, and so we decided to take the kids geocaching for their first time. Now, we really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure how the kids would do with that, but one of the ones that we went to, there was 2 access points to it, and I'm really glad that we ended up taking the one that we did, because we drove close to it. It was almost just a short, straight walk. If we had went by another way, we would have had to hike up this high mountain. We would have had to go through quite some distance to get to what we were looking at, so we're glad that we ended up taking the other direction. But the thing is, both directions would lead us to what we were after. And so you may not have to follow the way that somebody else has followed before you, but make sure that your goal is to do what the Lord would have for you. Success for you may look different than it looks for someone else, and that's okay. Have that purpose, though, that roots you, the purpose of asking what God would want and doing it. I think that leads me next to the word accomplishment. Accomplishment. Now, in this world, it pretty much screams at us that what we do is what is most important. That one's value and worth are found in measured accomplishments, much like your graduation. Goals that are scored, baskets that are made, cases that are won, operations that are successful, the most likes on a post, the most number of views on a video, trophies won, certificates given, degrees earned, votes that are cast, and number of victories that are won. The more accomplishments you can list, the more worth you have, is what the world would tell us. There's at least two problems with this. The first, such an approach renders worthless those who do not achieve and those who cannot do. Therefore, infants, quadriplegics, those with mental challenges, those with severe physical limitations, and those with little financial means are practically deemed worthless in the eyes of the world. The second problem is that one can be accomplished at something that doesn't matter. You could accomplish the most missions in a video game. You could eat the most hot dogs. You could build the largest Lego village, acquire the most tattoos, and all of those would require or give you entrance into the Guinness Book of World Records. But none of them would really add value or meaning to your life. According to 1 Corinthians chapter 19, verse 13, our second verse for today, the measurement for accomplishing something that matters is to do whatever you do for the glory of God. It says, so whether you eat or you drink or whatever you do, literally anything you do from this moment forward, do it all for the glory of God. Accomplishment, as it is defined in the scriptures, is to do whatever you do with the goal of bringing glory to God. So use your life, every moment of it, to point to God and his good plans for your life and for the world around you. From this moment forward, live each day to the Lord. And if you do that, it really won't matter what each day accomplished, because you have already given that day to the Lord, and so it is already a success. I want to remind you that accomplishment is a gift. And it's a gift if we follow in what the Lord has for us. I want to give you an example. I think that might put that in perspective. I wanted to present you and gift you with this trophy. Now, this is going to look a little bit odd at first, okay? Because this is not a trophy that you won. This is not a trophy that you even participated in. In fact, this is a 2002 first place volleyball tournament trophy, okay? I'm not even sure if you were born whenever that was won. 2002? Were you born?
I was born in 2006.
Okay.
April.
In April.
So I
Oh,
probably
well.
wasn't even born yet. But
Okay. If you were born, you were months old whenever this trophy was won. Now, the reason why I want to give this to you, to teach you something about accomplishment, is that the significance of accomplishments can and do fade with time. In fact, a day is going to come when someone will ask you where your high school diploma is. They'll ask you where your cap and gown is, and you'll have to think about it. You might say it's in the attic, or you might not even have any clue where it is. Now that's going to count. It's going to happen. In fact, I do not know where my high school graduation stuff is. But what's most important is not necessarily how you have graduated, but how you will live in the days that come after that. Just like this trophy was earned and it was celebrated, and it should have been. It has faded in time. People didn't know that this is now in a box in a closed room that has no windows in the bottom of a church. So just wanted to put that idea of accomplishment in perspective. So whatever you do from this day forward, if you do it to the Lord, whatever you do, whatever you decide, whatever path you choose, if you do it to the Lord, that's where achievement and success will be found. Don't work so hard to have a name that is remembered on earth. Make sure you have a name that is written in heaven. The final word that I have for you is perspective. The final word that I want to give to you is perspective. By default, we tend to only see things through our two eyes. After all, that is how our physical makeup goes. We also tend to only see things as they affect us. This leaves us short-sighted. In fact, it even leaves us blinded at times to the bigger picture of what God is doing in us and in those around us. Clearly, God is in control and we are not. You had plans for graduation, you had plans for this day. Those have probably dramatically changed. That's because we don't call the big shots of the world, but we can know the person who does. And it should be evident to us by these unique circumstances that surround this graduation that we need to see things bigger than what we usually do. We need to be able to have our eyes opened to what God is doing in and around us. We cannot see, in fact, unless God allows us to. This is true not only physically, because He's the one who made us and opened our eyes in the first place. Some of those pictures, of course, are great evidence of that, and your parents can testify to that. But this is true spiritually for us as well. I pray that God will give you a proper perspective as you travel on this road of life that is ahead of you, as you make the tough decisions and you stick to whatever you think He's leading you to do. As I think about perspective, the example that came to me is you need to focus and find what is essential. At your current age, what seems to be essential is doing what is cool or doing what is popular or the most attention grabbing. That's just kind of in the cards for a young man. But this perspective will not serve you well for the next 4 years, let alone the next 40 years and beyond. Let one of the lessons of this pandemic sink in. See what is truly essential. Not what you think that you need, but what you really need. It is grocery workers and not movie stars. It is truck drivers and not professional athletes. It is nurses and not music artists that are sustaining the lives of millions of people every day. They are doing something that really matters. They are meeting essential needs. You must live every day with the perspective of how you can make that day count for God. Paul would tell us in our final verse for today from Romans chapter 14, verse 12. It says, "So then each of us will give an account of himself to God." So if you want to live a life that matters, and I know that you do, if you want to live a life with purpose, if you want to live a life that has accomplishments, the key for Paul is to live every day knowing that you're going to have to answer to God for it. It keeps things in perspective. It sets accomplishments where they should be, and it provides purpose for the days where it seems like things are not what we had planned, when things are not the way we had wanted them to be. So for perspective, I wanted to gift you with these 2020 glasses. Now, I want you to know that you really cannot see out of these hardly at all. These are not for vision, but they are to remind you to keep a proper perspective on things. So, Carter, all that I have for you is that I hope that your life is going to be filled with what these verses say. I hope that it's filled with purpose, that we see many accomplishments, and that we know that you have a correct perspective, that life is moving towards the plans that God has for it. I'm so proud of you for this stage of accomplishment, and I look forward to those to come. Congratulations. What I want to do to close our service is I just want to spend a moment in prayer for Carter. I hope again that this service has been a blessing to you. It really wasn't designed for you in mind, so don't be offended by that. I want to encourage you. Please do look at the address list that we have, and I want to encourage you to send a special gift or a card or a note of encouragement to congratulate Carter and let him know that this moment forward, it's not like he has reached the peak of what God has for him, and that he has a church body that's supporting him with whatever he decides to do moving forward from this point. So I want to encourage you, make sure you send a card or a note or a message or something in the mail. I'm going to get us started with that. This is a little something for myself and my wife and the kids for your graduation. But we're going to close this service in prayer. Again, I hope it's been a blessing to you. I really hope it's been a blessing to you. Let's pray. God, I want to thank you for Carter. I want to thank you for the plans you've had for his life up to this moment. God, I want to thank you that he has walked through everything that was needed, that he fulfilled those classes, finally turned in those assignments, did it whether he wanted to or not, whether it's begrudgingly or not. We thank you for being able to celebrate in these accomplishments. And God, we look forward to what's ahead. God, we know that those decisions and those thoughts, those plans really are on his shoulders. And we pray that you give him wisdom. Father, it reminds him to set his face where it needs to be, to set his goals where they need to be. Remind him of what accomplishment really is, the things that are really essential. Help him to keep in perspective that all of this life, every day that's lived, every decision that is made, will have to stand before God to give an account for. So God, just help him with that. Help him to know that he has the love of a family. He has the love of a church body that is here for him regardless of what happens. Father, just as you love all of us in sending Jesus, just as you demonstrate that love through the parable of the prodigal son, Father, whatever may come as a part of Carter's life, may he always find your love, Father, from you, from family, from this church. We thank you. We ask these things in the name of Jesus, and amen. That does close our service today. I hope you guys are doing well. I look forward to seeing you guys Wednesday. Hopefully that will work well for our live stream. If not, of course, you'll have another message recorded for you next Sunday. Again, June 7th, we're excited for that. If you want to weigh in, make sure you do that today. Thanks. Bye, guys.